as far as Cardi B and Stefon?
It took Cardi B for you to start taking care of your 3 kids before you got with Cardi B.
It is called bitch nigga syndrome.
I see love lost, and I see egos being real loud.
He did cheat like really sloppily. This is really hard to defend.
You wanted to say what the other person was doing, you should have stayed with him.
Tinder wants to add a height filter.
As a man who is 5'10" with my shoes on, it is disturbing.
The first initial thing that you see about someone is attraction. You are no more at a disadvantage than short and round women who may feel insecure about the same things.
You're 5'2". It sounds ridiculous that you need a nigga 6'2".
You know, I love women and I love equality. So I want baby daddy's filter, the weight filter. I think it should work in both directions. One-way violence, I have an issue with.
Welcome to yet another episode of the BLC Pod.
Pod.
I don't care. I'll shoot by myself. Okay. I got them infinity bullets. You heard? But I'm just so excited because I got all my people
With me.
You know, we mentioned this right before we went on. That's okay. If y'all want me to continue to have energy up here, and y'all here, that's up to y'all. I'm trying to spread the love, what y'all want to do, what y'all want to do. It's all good. But before we get into y'all, we got to remind the audience, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, and all that good stuff. I appreciate the conversation. You dig what I'm saying? Because y'all talk a lot in the comments, but y'all won't say it to our faces. I'm just kidding. We don't want that type of smoke. But speaking of having all my people with me, got to start with the SNM Jones. What's happening?
So I am super excited to be here. But, you know, part of the reason is because I'm ready to get some shit off my chest. And one of the things that I like to do is give a shout out to 50 Cent. He has won Petty of the Week award because he is the gift that keeps on giving with his pettiness. And I am here for it. So his latest shenanigans, I like to call it, he ended up apparently there was rumors that Trump was going to potentially pardon Diddy. And he then released a video where Diddy was allegedly talking shit about Trump and was like, hey, you shouldn't release this dude. You shouldn't pardon this dude because of this reason. So basically he was low key like a snitch bitch. And so I appreciate that in him though. You know, I appreciate the pettiness. I appreciate the fact that he's staying hard on him. He's had the Netflix series before he was even put on trial. I mean, this dude has mastered the art of pettiness.
Yeah, see that chef's kiss?
Chef's kiss.
It's
petty.
I see you, SNL. You know who else I see? Who I haven't seen, I feel like in like forever. TRB in the building.
TRB.
Hey, now, stay now.
What's happening?
Happy to be back. You know, I was gone for a week or so. I've been doing a little bit of traveling, been a little bit under the weather. Just want to take a moment to remind people to go to the doctor, take care of yourself, get stuff checked because you never know what you're fighting. So blood pressure, heart stuff, all the good things, make sure you go get it checked out. So I'm excited to be back this week and talk my little shit about all the things that we have to talk about. So I'm looking forward to a good sparring session.
Yes. Oh, you said a good sparring session. She got her gloves on.
Did you hear it? Like, bro,
yeah.
I was ready.
I feel like Jay's ready to spar with you right now in the intro.
You know what I mean? Bring it. Yeah. So I'm feeling like I got a lot of energy, man. I'm glad to be here. Summer has officially started. I am out of the classroom. I am fully engaged in the culture for the next 2 months, maybe 2.5. See how it goes. And I'm excited, man. I really got tired of watching what was happening in the White House. And I think that was a trick, you know what I mean? Because like there's some whistleblower lady who was complaining about food and the quality of the food. She was complaining about the FDA and they arrested her like last week. Nobody was talking about it because everybody was watching Diddy trial. But check your food, make sure it's good. But we're going to give you food for thought tonight. So I'm good with it. Delvin, pass it to you, bro.
And listen, speaking of health, I'm glad we all health conscious this episode. I survived Houston Cigar Week. Thank you very much. On like 3 hours of sleep and Pedialyte and a cigar. So yeah, I'm here. I made it. We missed you guys. They asked about you. And I promised everybody you guys will be NH next year for Houston Cigar Week. We're doing this as a team and we'll probably get shirts and all kind of merch made.
That's what's up.
And we should have a table too. We can rock out and get everybody, you know, with the swag on their back. So missed you guys, but I'm back and we're here and we're ready to start summer. First summer episode.
Yeah, summer's already here. I wasn't even paying attention.
It's
It is,
almost
but
here.
I know.
Not quite.
That's like June
ask a teacher.
22nd.
End of the month.
Ask a teacher.
It's June 22nd.
Ask a teacher. That's all I got to say.
Has the groundhog showed himself yet? I mean, I don't know none of this shit. I'm gonna be honest. Well, listen, man, I'm doing great. Happy to be here with y'all. I'm happy to see you, Del. I'm happy to see you, Tia. Still happy to see you, Jay and SNM. You know, I'm happy that we're all here. Listen, man, I guess my little intro message is, where there's a chat, there is a way. I want to make a public service announcement. If you're watching this show right now at the sound of my voice, and you have not incorporated Chat GPT or some variation thereof into your life, you are slipping. Listen, this is not an ad. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying that, like, for the free $99, hell, it was so good to me, I voluntarily paid the $20. I'm thinking about paying the $200 a month, okay? And I'm not somebody who parts with my money lightly. This is not an ad. It should be. Maybe we'll clip it and be able to do so. But if you're out there talking about, I'm trying to make moves or whatever, and you're not using ChatGPT or some variation thereof, you're not really trying to make moves in 2025. Matter of fact, even emotionally, talk to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you know, this is how I feel today. You know, just try to feel this way. And try to be like, you know what, you have every right to feel that way. Let's break down the reasons why you might feel that way. So listen, man, the tools are out there, okay? Either get with it or get rolled the fuck over. Welcome to episode 508. Let's get this party started. Oh, I almost forgot. We got the merch, y'all.
We got the merch.
Y'all thought I was going to forget the merch. We got merch coming, more merch and more merch. But anyways, let's get to the show because I'm ready for some spark too. You heard? Let's talk about it.
All right. I like this, how we starting off. So, you know, speaking of feelings, we got some folks in their feelings because Tinder wants to add a height filter. And apparently some men, we won't say the ones that are on the short side, seem to be offended by this height filter addition. And they're asking, well, where's the weight filter? Because if we can ask for a height, then surely they can get this weight filter. So what are your thoughts on this whole addition to Tinder on the height?
As a man who is 5'10", right, with my shoes on, I wanted to say I find it disturbing, right? Yeah, look, we're being transparent, right? But I do find it disturbing, right? I'm gonna give my height as disclosure. You can rank me as average height, a short, a medium tall. I like medium tall. Yeah, I might even take small tall. No, medium tall. Anyway, so it is disturbing. All jokes aside, because people are filtering height, right? Like it's some sort of sacred metric or something. Like it's something you can even really control. I mean, you can go get surgery for it, but it's in their genetic code. But they're not asking like, what's in your genes? They're not asking like, what's in your makeup? How do you think? How do you function? Like, what's in your family history, right? All it is just what's in your genes, like your JEANS, right? What's in them pants? That's all people want to know. And that's measured by your height. And it's shallow. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But here's why it's really a bad thing. Because what we're doing right now, right, by forwarding this kind of this mindset, is we are conditioning ourselves to choose love based on the moment, right? To choose a lifetime companion, hopefully, I guess, for all y'all out there dating for purpose, right? Choose a lifetime companion for a moment, for momentary considerations, but not like for the marathon that life is. All the things that can change, right? Wheelchairs make everybody the same height, y'all. I'm just saying, I don't wish harm on nobody, but chemistry without character, that's a setup. You know what I mean? So maybe somebody being tall makes you feel good and gets you all warm and tingly or whatever, right? But the character isn't there. That person can make you so sick that you'll hate every inch of them long legs, right? A six-pack won't raise your kids. And a baby won't regulate your nervous system. You know what I'm saying? Won't get your mind together. So ask yourself this, and I'll say it's not lame. Ask yourself this before you swipe again. How deep are you willing to grow, right? Internally, before you start checking on how body's growing externally. Go ahead, y'all.
I feel like, Tia, you had some major pushback for that.
I mean, just let's keep it real. The first initial thing that you see about someone is attraction, right? I think men are kind of mad because they're going to lose doubly Yeah, let's add the weight factor to it, sure. But some of y'all are short and round too. So you are no more at a disadvantage than short and round women who may feel insecure about the same things. I think people deserve to have preferences. I'm a very tall woman. I am tall for a human. I'm 5'11". So when I put on heels, I'm 6'3", 6'4" on a good day, right? When I date or when men are interested in me and they're 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", believe it or not, there's a huge difference in how the relationship goes because at some point they're challenged by it, whether they say they're not or not. It's this, damn, I'm looking up to you. There's these these variables that make people insecure, and that just happens to be one of them. I don't want to be objectified because I'm tall and Amazonian and all these things. And so, but I like a tall man, so I don't have to go through that. So it's a preference, it's genetic, it's sexual, it's all of it's petty, it's shallow. I have a right not to date short people if I want to, and we can say it's petty and shallow, but it is my preference. So I'm glad that Tinder is saving me some time because it's only the short men who don't put their height. We already know it anyway. Now we're just calling it out for the tall guys to be loud and proud. So I'm here for it.
Shout out to the tall, goofy kings. But listen, you can't control any of that stuff, right? So, I love women and I love equality. So I want the baby daddy's filter along with the weight filter. I want the number of kids filter. Like we're gonna choose violence. We're going to scorch earth. I want all of it. Like list, and that's just the three I thought of off the top of my head. So maybe we can. Jay, you might be able to help me. Nick, you might come up with a few too. But we're gonna put those filters in there because we are going to go for violence, and I'm totally okay with that. The rules, the filters will apply to everybody, or they apply to nobody. But at the same time, too, I get what you're saying, Tia and Jake. People like what they like. You can filter out. Now, at some point, there's going to be nobody left. I mean, you want to filter out for the 6'2" guy to make $1 million a minute and got no holes and goes to church every Sunday. Okay, that filter might be really small. But you know what? You're entitled to like what you like and want what you want. But is the universe entitled to provide it to you? Not so much. So I think it's fine, but I think it should work in both directions. One-way violence I have an issue with, but that's my take.
I guess. As the only nigga who's breathing is 6'1" plus air, sorry, I didn't know that. I haven't met Delvin in person in real life. He could have been 6'3" for all I know, so I didn't know. But based off his answer, it's giving sub 6 foot. So I don't know. And because when he started off, he's like tall, goofy niggas. I'm like, because listen, as a tall person, I don't look down on people just because they're shorter than me.
Right.
I know. So the fact that the first shot was at the tall niggas, I was like, damn, he must not be tall. So that's the only conclusion I drew from that comment because I consider myself, I'm 6'1", with shoes, maybe 6'1 3/4", I guess, depending on the sole.
Shout out to the 5'9" kings, though.
I mean, listen.
We deep.
No, listen.
Jay, you are not 5'9". I cannot let you keep perpetuating this lie.
What are you talking about?
5'7.25". You are not.
Oh, that's not true. That is not true. Yeah,
that's cold.
Listen, I'm not going to comment on that because Jay's my guy.
You were standing on a toenail next to me.
But I'm not going to comment on that because Jay's my guy. But what I will say, I love him. He's my brother from another mother. We've known each other for years.
They called you a goofy tall king.
You know what I mean? But listen,
they. He said that was Delvin.
No,
he didn't defend you.
Listen. I didn't take any umbrage to it, right? Just to get down to it. I didn't take any umbrage to it because I think this conversation is funny whenever it comes up. But I do recognize I'm speaking from a place of privilege, right? Because that's not an issue or a cross that I've had to bear. So I don't want to be insensitive to my shorter brothers out there who can literally take this seriously and feel some type of way. I mean, it's not like they haven't experienced this in real life. So it's not like just because you're adding it to an app is changing anything, right? Because they're already using these tools, right? They'll not post their height or they'll lie about their height. They'll hype fish. So it's not like they don't already know that there's a bar that they still have to stretch to beat, at least when it comes to the height direction. I think what really needs to happen is people need to accentuate their positives. right? Because there's women out there who will fuck with y'all. So it doesn't matter. There are some women, though, however, that it does matter to. And I will say this, if you're 5'2", it sounds ridiculous that you need a nigga 6'2". Like, listen, okay? Leave some of the taller niggas for some of the taller girlies out there. If you're 5'2", you can do it at 5'8", 5'9", niggas still look up to him. I get that for some women, if you're 5'11", dating a nigga 5'7", it's hard to look up to a man if you have to look down to hug him. So I get that. And so it's all fair in regards to the height thing. I'll just land by saying that it's also fair that men can say, hey, we have our requirements too. But fellas, stop acting like we don't already have those requirements. We can tell the chicks in the pictures that only have their face showing. We are already looking for weight. We're already filtering for some of the things that y'all are talking about. So it's not like just because they make it a little bit easier for women to filter through height that we're not already doing those things. Ladies, and by the way, I'll land with this. We can tell that y'all are fat if y'all have the picture only showing your neck. It's not even that you're fat. It's that you want to pretend like you're not fat or that we can't tell. Be fat with pride. You get what I'm saying? And that's sexier than pretending that you're not fat. And like guys, pretending that you're not short. Be short with pride too. Somebody's going to love your short asses. I'm sorry, SNM. Go ahead.
So first, Jay was like, wrap this up. He was like, you doing too much now, sir.
You wilding over here.
Easy on me.
Right? So I'll keep it short, no pun intended there. So I was told, I was one of those people who look for taller men as well. I will admit to this. And then one day I had a epiphany. Mostly because my mother, because I was really young. And my mother was like, hey, you're so busy looking for the float with all the tall niggas on it that you're going to miss the float that's just for you. And I was like, oh, wow, that's fascinating. Thanks, Mom. And so, but from that conversation, she didn't think I was going to take that conversation and run with it. But I took it to heart. And I realized, because my husband, he's only 5'9.5", although he swear up and down he's 5'10.5". And but he's only 5'9.5", and you believe him? Yeah, he's 5'10" with shoes on. That's why I'm gonna put it that way. And so, anyways, with that being said, I think the height filter is interesting. I wonder if it's gonna go down a rabbit hole though, like kind of like what Delvin mentioned as far as like what other filters will they put in place off of, like, will it be an eye filter? Like, I only want to date people with brown eyes or blue eyes. Will there be in addition to the weight filter, will there be a character flaw, whatever the case may be? So I think that it actually opens the door for us to go down rabbit holes. And while we're so busy constantly filtering through Tinder and so forth, then we'll end up filtering ourselves out of opportunities. And that's why I look at that.
Yeah, and to what we were saying earlier, accentuating the positive is your positive, whatever they are, is really, really important. Like, hey, look, I can't control XYZ about myself, like say height, but I can go work out, I can get fit, I can work out on my personality, I can dress really well, I can be more sociable. So control the things you can control. There is that whole leg extension thing that they're doing that seems really painful and dangerous, but work on your humor first before you go extend your legs. That seems really painful.
Now, speaking of things that people can control, right? Because this next story, as far as Cardi B and Stefon, right? In regards to Offset having some issues. Now, they control that entire rollout of their relationship. It was like an album, right? Cardi doesn't have an album, but her rollout for this relationship was more in-depth than any rollout that she's had for any album, right? I mean, this was a hard rollout. If there was tickets to this relationship, I mean, you couldn't have done it any better. But apparently, you know who bought a ticket? Offset did, until he didn't, right? Because Offset was wilding. I mean, I'm not even gonna give my opinion but anywho, things that you can't control, right? So what do y'all think about what's going on with Cardi B, right? Obviously, she's going through a divorce, right? She got Stefon Diggs. He's a wide receiver. You know what I mean? Some people say he's a sniper out there. And so they're outside with pink stuff and everything. And so Offset, is he looking some type of way because as the ex, he's not moving in his best light? I mean, what are your thoughts about everything going on here, man? Is this crazy?
I'm all about petty apparently this week. And Offset was petty because not only did he get upset, he actually did the little childish thing where in his case, it was a little too petty, but he did the childish thing where he claimed he was passing the ball to Stefon. Now, Stefon, being even pettier, actually caught the ball got an image of him catching the ball, and it's a football, not the ball that he passed, which means he upgraded. Was like, hey, yo, I'm a wide receiver. Remember this? And it was kind of cool. I ain't gonna lie. And so I was like, so Stefon get the pass on. All right, I love how you picked this pass up, but more importantly, you literally threw shade back on his shade and was like, I got this. And so I like that. That Offset, I guess he was kind of upset still that how dare you catch the pass and you play off it. And so now he talking about, because apparently she's styling his son hair the way Stefon hair is. He like, now you playing with my kid. I'm like, you gonna got like 20 damn kids. You ain't care about none of them damn kids before. So why the hell you care about this kid now? But maybe he did care. Maybe I just don't know. And so with that being said, he was like, I'll kill behind my kids. Really, sir? It took Cardi B for you to start taking care of your 3 kids before you got with Cardi B. So stop with the fronting and just accept this loss, sir. You lost her. She gone. And as long as you keep trying to throw, it reminds me of, what's that little dude named? Little Bow Wow. And he'll always be Little Bow Wow because he ain't grown up yet. And because he's still throwing shade at Sierra, talking about, I had her first. Why every damn interview you talking about I had her first? You was a teenager. She was a teenager. So fucking what? Let it go. I had her first. And so with that being said, Offset, you giving some Little Bow Wow energy here. And so I'm going to need you to grow up too. But it's okay. Love, love, love to Stefon though, because I like your pettiness.
I like to just jump in and give you guys the, professional clinical term for this. It is BNS. It is called bitch nigga syndrome. And unfortunately, it is running rampant in the community right now, where men just cannot seem to be able to tolerate the same dosage of fuckery as they like to give. And when I think about all the things that he did, that Cardi B was coming to the forefront, she was posting receipts with the girls. He was literally in hotels taking pictures. He was a stupid cheater. He wasn't even smart enough to be able to keep it under wraps, like most men. We tend to do it better if we're going to do it at all. Men cheat stupidly. Offset is a perfect example of why it's cheaper to keep her and you should just shut up and sit down, because now she's with someone who is making a lifetime worth more money than your little rap career ever will, because when the Migos went, then it was adios, amigo, because you really don't have a career anymore. You're living off of jewels and dead rappers, unfortunately. And we have to just be able to move past you like you should be able to move past Cardi. Like, so tired of the lingering hate with bitch nigga syndrome that he and DDG and Tory Lanez keep just ripping through Black women with. Like, we have to let it go. Like Elsa, just let it go.
I just know y'all not finna let her just talk like that. Delvin,
and
Jay?
I gotta tell you, Delvin, can you say something on Offset's behalf? Because honestly, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
I thought you had it.
Now. I see love lost, and I see egos being real loud. That's all I'm seeing right now.
So nobody here's gonna speak up for Offset? Delvin, come on.
Delvin, go ahead. Please help him out. I'll wait.
Listen,
go ahead.
Help them out. Y'all need some help. Y'all against the ropes right now.
It's hard to defend him. He got dunked on with the meme. That shit was really funny. I mean, I can't even lie, man. He did cheat like really sloppily. Like, this is shit. Why are you guys doing me like this? This is really hard to defend, Oh, but listen, hopefully.
You can't. You don't got it, Delvin. You don't got it.
I'm trying to find something, man. It was
pass the ball like Offset.
It was just weird. Now I got to pass it to Jay. We didn't do the setup with the football, so it'll go from my screen to his.
All right, wait, pass me the ball.
Yes, pass the ball to Nick. Yes.
Shit. Okay, first of all, look, man. Look. I don't come from the school of just because I did fucked up shit, you should do fucked up shit too. Or like, just because you did fucked up shit, I should do fucked up shit. Like, people who revenge cheat to me are whack. You either are a cheater or you're not, right? If you cheated because all of a sudden somebody else cheated, so now you're being somebody else that you're not, okay, cool. That's a whole different conversation, right? Cool. Let's put that to the side. What I'm saying is that we're sitting here focused on Offset, right? And he's upset. But I think reasonably, right? I led the story by saying, like, you can't just be in a relationship just doing your thing. You got to do everything like in the public so that everybody can see what the fuck it is that you're doing. I mean, even chat's agreeing with what the fuck it is I was saying right now on the side. Like, hold on, chat. It's only one of us can talk right now, right? What I'm saying is that Cardi knew what the fuck she was doing, okay? Like, she knew what the fuck she was. This is all part of both of their fucking sick little game and shit. Who knows whether or not her relationship with Stefon Diggs is about nothing? You know what I'm saying? This is a rollout. That's one of the things that he did say. right? He understands what time it was. And yes, it did affect him. He's having a human fucking experience, right? But if it was really about moving on and having your relationship, why the fuck does it have to be all public? You know what I'm saying? And it's unfair because women have like this thing over men. Anyway, it's never going to be fair. It doesn't matter who the fuck Offset shows up with. He'll never really be able to compete with the kind of games that women can play when their relationship is a rappy rap. They can pull all the shit out there. Oh, you're a bad daddy. Your dick was small. You wasn't shit. All this other shit. But they wasn't saying that shit before when they were sucking your dick no before, right? Cool. So now that we're warring, we're going to throw all this shit out there. And then, yes, you're Cardi B, so you can move around with whoever. But Stefon Diggs ain't like the choice nigga to be talking about you want to be married. So we get it. You out here playing around. But he can feel some type of way if he feels like you got this nigga around my kids or doing some type of shit. Yes, he could be a bad dad before, but he's a better dad today. He has every right to wonder, what type of niggas do you have around my children? This nigga was on a fucking boat with Peak Substance with a bunch of hoes. I get it. That's y'all life, but he has every right to voice his concerns in regards to whether or not the new nigga in his wife and his child's life is safe enough to be around. Niggas know niggas. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to automatically assume that Stefon's a good nigga? No. He could have some general concerns that he can't really say for real. So all I'm saying is, in my best attempt to try to speak up on behalf of a man going through a relationship breakdown in front of, don't act like niggas don't fuck up and still have the right to feel some type of way. Just because you fuck up doesn't mean you're not human. So yeah, he was out there cheating and fucking up, but she still took it. We don't know what their relationship was. Now she can say, oh, he was out here moving shady. No, maybe they had a relationship where he could be out there fucking other hoes. And then maybe his other hoes. But I'm saying is that in retrospect, we could pay him some type of way. But I don't want to absolve Cardi for how the fuck she's moving out here because I think they're both instigating each other in a very toxic way. It's not like Cardi's not known as being toxic. When all of a sudden she's fucking Mary Poppins and shit. No, she's the same bitch that was talking about drugging niggas back in the day. So all I'm saying is that, yes,
she can't be
maybe Offset is not moving the best, but I'm just trying to shoot Offset some bail because it's not like Cardi is either. They both are out here on some fuck shit, and we're seeing it play out right in front of our very fucking.
Everybody has it back in the day.
So mad when you move on.
Everybody has it back in the day, right? And so that's why I'm not pro Cardi. I'm not pro Offset. I'm saying this goes for everybody. This is the way people are moving now because maybe they shallow, right? When people lose access, they start rewriting their story, right? You start rewriting who's the villain, and then they start trying to heal out loud so everybody can see them healing. They doing all this extra stuff for attention, which I think is the real untapped resource, like the oil under the ground in this particular story, right? I think it's attention. Because remember when Cardi was coming out with like there was always some kind of issue in their relationship whenever she was coming out with an album. I think I said it on an earlier season, like it seemed like it was a grab for attention, right? Now it's not even an album, right? But then you have to ask yourself, where's Offset's attention? And so then I look at it like maybe it's a toxic love story, even that's ongoing. I'm gonna tell you why I say this, right? Because some people don't want closure, right? They want either just to stay in control or stay connected, right? So, and in this situation, I think she's still feeding him attention, right? Through the whole, Stefon thing or whatever, right? So it's almost like a little love story, but it's still toxic because y'all not together. And when y'all not together, y'all get our separate ways. She get to do what she want to do. He get to do what he want to do. If you wanted to say what the other person was doing, you should have stayed with him. That's what I'm saying. So before you go out and, you know what I'm saying, you post and you talk about how you healed and you moving on and you post your new boo or you do whatever, right? I think you need to take some time and journal, go meditate or something and heal, right? Do that first. Because y'all out here wilding, man. Y'all get your egos and y'all be rewriting the story all the time. All the time.
She healing on that dick.
So I'm just going to add that I noticed you said that he may have been a bad father back in the day, but he's a better father today or trying to be. Well, she may have been a drug doping chick back in the day, but she's a better person today, apparently, because she's no longer drugging folks. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you're going to apply that to Offset, you need to apply it to Cardi too, Mr. Nic Nice. And so before we move on to the next subject.
Everybody got it back in the day.
Okay, all that back in the day conversation. But anyways, so speaking of attention seeking though, and Nic, you look like you want to say something. What's going on here, sir? You want to rebut. I feel it.
All right, this is all I'm simply saying is we had Tia speak, we had SNM speak, and nobody could speak on behalf of Offset because of how bad it was in terms of how he was showing up here. And all I attempted to do was level the playing field so that way we can have some empathy and sympathy. And now y'all want to pretend as if that was not what happened before I spoke. Y'all are like these people in relationships where they want to change history and pretend as if that wasn't the case all along. So now what I'm saying is about bringing up the past is that Cardi is not some fucking angel out here. We don't know what the fuck is going on. She's out here spewing their fucking business. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's going to make him look some type of way, but it doesn't absolve her of some level of fucking responsibility for the fuckery that's going on. That's all I was saying. And trying to be creative enough to provide some feedback for manhood. Because y'all niggas just laid down your sword if there wasn't a male perspective to be had.
Our feedbackers don't do that.
Plate. Thank you. And moving on.
I felt it right there I was like, he about to rebut right now. Let me go ahead and open that space for that rebuttal.
Good thinking, SNM.
And so, but speaking of attention, because Jay, you had a great point when you talked about everybody's trying to get attention. It's all about attention seeking. And so Cameron, he recently interviewed Diddy's witness, who so happened to be nicknamed the Punisher. Woo! I'm sorry, I had a moment there. I felt like she'd be on, but it's okay. So her real name is Sheree Hayes, by the way. He's a male escort. And so during this interview, he really wanted to know all about Cassie's box. And I am so curious in regards to, one, do you think this was an appropriate conversation for him to ask, or not even conversation, an appropriate topic for him to ask pertaining to Cassie, who is currently one of the many witnesses for the freak-offs, apparently, and in this Diddy Rico case? Was it a little bit too early for him to be asking about this? Or, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what exactly, was it ethical, or what exactly was he trying to accomplish, or was it just all get to know about Cassie's box?
Okay, was it too early? If there's ever a time, then now's a good time. You know what I mean? Because it's what people are talking about. And he had someone who could tell him, right? Now, I don't mean to be the creeper in the room. I want to say all the right things like, these mics aren't tools to beat down people and to take away their privacy and da-da-da-da. But when you go to court, all the stuff comes out. And unless the court documents are sealed, the news people are going to report it. So her situation there is already in discussion in living rooms across America. Okay. And now we have somebody who's actually been in the living room of her living room, if you understand what I'm saying. Right. And if somebody had been to, before it was MTV Cribs, if somebody had been to like the Brat's house, I'd be like, hey man, you at the Brat house? What's it like in there? So it's the same question. Hey, you were in there. I want to ask you about the drapes and the carpet. It's the same question. You know what I mean? It's dealing with whatever. We just got through talking about Cardi B, who put out WAP. Apparently, sexual organs and sexual expression is an open topic now, right? So I don't know why we clutching our pearls. I would like to be indignant with the rest of y'all, but to be totally honest, the man had a question. He had an answer. He asked the questions, right? If whether or not the Punisher answered, that was on him to say where he put his respect for that particular experience that he had with Cassie, right? That was that. But for the man to ask the question, I know people want to say it was journalistic, but I feel like there was some journalism in there. Honestly, I wanted to know the answer. I still do. I might find out for myself. Anyway, it's not my turn. Y'all go ahead.
I think people will find any reason to not let women be victims. Like, we have to do something to diminish their character in order to validate the potential offender from not looking and being as bad as he could potentially be. I think Cameron is a bitch nigga. I think anybody that decides to ask a question about somebody's cuckoo who has been open in her own opinion about being a victim of rape. I think we get caught up on it's not proven. But we wasn't there. She said it. She feels it. You don't think she's impacted by this type of dialogue or minimalization of who she is? Not even her character, not even what she's saying, but just her body, I think is very primal. I think it's very sucker-ish. And I think it's something that people do to deflect from the reality that this woman is saying that she was raped by one of his partners. Like, Cameron could just keep wearing pink and doing bitch shit because that's what he's used to. But it's like he should do something different at this point.
We have been talking about the quality of Halle Berry's box, or the lack thereof, for the last 30 years. It's on the table. This is no different. We've been talking about this, various others. She just comes to mind. This has been out in the public for about 30 years. We've been, oh man, is it trash? Like, we don't know. We just got a eyewitness or a live participant who asked the guy, hey man, listen, she's been doing this. You were there. Was it, top tier? What's the Yelp rating? If somebody was going to ask it eventually, the people want to know. I think it's relevant to the case. So this is not the first female celebrity. We've been wondering about the quality of her goods. It's not going to be the last. So we have to be big kids and suck it up. That's my take.
I think there's a larger conversation here, right? But I'll start by saying that all of this is fair play. All of it, each and every piece of it, because that's the world that we live in today, right? There's no longer, say, journalistic standards, right? I mean, there are places where that exists, but if people are not gravitating to those places, who cares, right? A former rapper, whether it's Cameron or Joe Budden, right, can have an opinion, can pick up a microphone, and people can enjoy the content, because that's really what it is at the end of the day. I mean, what did you expect for even CNN, for example, who interviewed that guy? Right? The guy who was on the stand, CNN interviewed him. I mean, I guess he did the right thing. He went out there and apologized and all that. But what the fuck do you think this is? This is entertainment as news being proxy for people to have these types. Now, whether or not Cameron took it to a different place, but if you follow Cameron, that's just who the fuck he is. It is what it is, the show that he does that garners millions of views. So I'm shocked by the surprise of all this, right? If we're not going to have a deeper conversation, because ultimately I think whether or not we pay attention to it, who fucking cares? I mean, if we're going to be honest, I don't look at it strictly from the lens of the victim. Because I do think, that's to be debated in regards to the court of law. We did not have a proceeding prior to now, whether or not we want to attest to the facts. So outside of having those facts, I know that we talked about a settlement. I know this trial is happening. I don't know the motives beyond that. So I don't know that it's necessarily out of bounds if we're not going to then admit that all of this shit is out of bounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know way too much shit from people anyways. That's the culture. Whether they tell us the information themselves on social media, whether a trial comes up. I mean, people are mad that we can't even see this trial. Like, there's people lining up outside. This would be made for TV. We saw OJ, right? So we have a thirst for these things, and I'm not mad for proprietors of business, right, to engage in the shit that the public wants. You dig what I'm saying? Now, depending on how they move in their real lives, it's a different story, but that's just the world that we live in. And so, yes, you know what I'm saying? It might be a little crass. Maybe I wouldn't necessarily do it. I don't even know what the answer was. So maybe I'm just not that interested.
I can tell you what it was.
But I can imagine that there may be people who are. And yeah, especially if you're hitting it raw. I mean,
that's a good point.
I mean, if that was part of the testimony, and that just seemed kind of crazy in and of itself, especially if you're talking about sex workers, but whatever. I mean, inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah. So, SNM, you were saying?
I just had the urge to jump in so strongly, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so the good news is he kind of deflected. He started off saying that for the most part, he was uncomfortable because Diddy was doing some things with his own privates, and he knew that Diddy swung a certain way, and he was kind of uncomfortable because he just wanted to make sure that he was protected and more focused on his protection versus on what he was actually doing with Cassie is what his response was.
So he was always watching his back SNM.
Yes, that's what she's saying.
That is correct.
What he was doing because he was too busy watching his back. Like, wait. Okay.
That is correct. That's exactly
Why
what
this
he was
nigga
doing.
walking around behind me? It's weird.
And so this was so I wanted to add
Oh,
that
we can laugh at that though, huh, Tia? But go
to
ahead.
let you know what
When
he
it's the guy
said.
that's a victim,
But
it's
it's
funny then,
also
huh?
because that's what he was open about. And I think the reason why he said that was because he recognized that this may not be the time to have that conversation. Now, if it's like after the trial or whatever, by all means, ask these type of questions. But during the trial itself, while it's going on, knowing how traumatic it appeared to her at the minimum, this was not the time to ask the questions. So what? All the men around the world want to know what her box was like, and this is not the time to ask the question. Ask it after the trial. Ask it after everything has transpired. Who? For her herself. We are constantly re-victimizing the victim. And this is... Go ahead.
This was Cameron having this conversation with this guy. So
but she's...
And I'm saying,
like
if we talk about it after the trial, aren't we re-victimizing her then? Isn't it better to talk about it while the trial is going on?
No, because, okay, this is what I'm going to say. I personally don't think it should be talked about, period. I don't think it should be talked about, period, because at the end of the day, you're basically talking about a rape victim, right? At the end of the day, whether she was participant early on or not, at the point it became rape, you're basically talking about a rape victim. And so I don't think it should be talked about.
Now, if you're asking about participatory sex, like if you're asking about consensual sex, the details of consensual sex.
Hold on, man. None of this stuff has been substantiated, right?
Well, alleged.
She feels that she was raped. For you and any other person, that should be enough to respect it until we find out something differently. It's just common courtesy, human being shit.
That's not true.
Asking about her box is just minimalizing her experience and then making her a victim again.
Punisher. Did she feel that she was raped by Punisher? No, she did not. So then his testimony is valid from two consenting adults.
Exactly.
Well, I know about her. I don't know about that part.
Exactly. And then
I don't know about Punisher or anything about that.
I know Punisher just said he was very uncomfortable.
The Punisher is also a victim here for talking about whatever the case is about, right? Because he
got paid $6,000.
And Cassie got paid $1 million.
He was doing a job.
She was doing a job.
Look at how calculated you are.
What is happening?
You are by his perspective, when the facts line up for him the same way it would for her.
You can only be a victim if you have a clitoris with this lady.
Financially, he said he was uncomfortable being in a space with a guy, and any guy, regardless of whether you're doing sex work or not, is probably under duress if you're not gay, and some nigga is behind you fucking walking around and grunting and shit, right? But you don't have no empathy for that. But y'all all that back. No, but hold on, S&M. Last episode, I said when we were talking about the whole other conversation, I said it's funny how people want tolerance, but they don't want to give tolerance, right? Y'all want empathy, but don't want to give it either. This is a case where this guy credibly can say, hey, I was too victimized by a more powerful person and put in an uncomfortable situation. And y'all can't even, for the sake of conversation, broach that for the sake of what exactly? Y'all do away with your own argument here, which is why the overall point is, that's why Cameron doesn't give a fuck, because y'all don't give a fuck, right? We all sometimes don't give a fuck. So to stand here and pretend like we do because it's, oh my God, the cute little light-skinned girl that we believe was victimized, even though there's evidence to the contrary that she too was victimized other people, but whatever, right? Y'all can't even give the brother a modicum of, oh, damn,
no,
you know what?
I
You're
agree.
Right, man. That brother was put in a power position where he had to literally watch his back. We just cackled about it. But y'all want to sit here and get mad that Cameron is not cackling with some nigga who was talking about him having sex with old girl on his particular show. What the fuck are y'all talking about, man? The inconsistency that y'all be on is why I don't fuck with none of that shit y'all been talking about. Go ahead, Delvin.
No, so if Cameron had a woman, and this is to the ladies, if Cameron had a woman on his show and he asked, is about the size of Diddy's manhood, would that be off the table? Would you be like, no, you can't ask about Diddy's manhood? That's out of bounds. There's a trial going on.
That's nasty.
That's irrelevant. You see where I'm going? See what I did there?
So
I think, unlike y'all, we don't
point.
care about Diddy's dick. We not none of us have I've never met a woman who asked about Diddy's dick. Y'all said everybody wants to know what her pussy feels like. Who is everybody? I've never heard anybody ask that question before Cameron asked that question. Y'all never thought about what her pussy feels like. Y'all not sexualizing this person.
Actually,
you said you did? Okay,
I threw Jay under the bus.
I really had. He threw me under the bus. And honestly, I hadn't. I've never heard her song. I never really looked at her. She just...
Come on now. So Cameron stands alone in his infatuation with a woman who just happens to be victimized. He wouldn't ask him about that pussy before she came out as a rape victim. That would be different.
Don't do Cassie like that. She had hits, man.
She had 2, 1.5. Dun, dun,
I want to be your.
I'm more
that was it. She was
official
17.
girl.
Nobody
I
wants
want to
it.
be your official girl. No,
I'm
Oh,
interested
no.
in the Cassie that was having sex outside of Diddy. Like the cat, like, because that's what I'm saying. Like, she was the same, everything is still there that was there, right? And she's married now, so she got an after Diddy life there too, whatever, right? So I'm like, all that fuzzy stuff in the middle is just.
So
It's
rape
just
no,
victims
y'all
don't
missing
go
the
on to
point,
live
man.
healthy, happy
Consistent.
lives
Yeah,
and relationships?
y'all
That's what you're
miss.
saying?
Y'all are
No, I'm
no.
saying
Y'all are
you can.
missing
If
the
you're a
point.
porn star, we still gonna watch the video.
They still have relationships outside of their porn, which is their career.
Yes, and we don't
Right?
watch that.
And they have real relationships in houses and homes that don't include porn. That
Y'all
girl
are
was a
missing the
girl regardless.
point.
She had other partners. Okay,
Y'all are missing the point.
go ahead.
It's COE. It's content, y'all. Like, this is the world that we live in. Do something about it or just
It's
deal with it. But we
BNS.
all participate
Mhm.
in the shit, and we want to be fuzz
Mhm.
about the lines that we want to draw.
Mhm.
Stop playing.
Well,
Who want to be? Speaking of being fuzzy, you wanted to say something else to them?
yeah, actually, I was ready to say that brought it to another point where you said earlier about having a deeper conversation in regards to where's the line with media, right? Because one of the conversations that we didn't talk about was the whole fact that they leaked the Jane Doe identity, right? What's the point of being a Jane Doe or a John Doe if your identity is leaked through the media? And so where is that line? Are there ethics involved, or should there used to be ethics in media? And so is this something that we need to have a conversation about? And but
No.
noting that we're also doing a podcast at this time, talking about some of the same topics too, it becomes like, well, where's that line? What should and shouldn't be said? And at the end of the day, I'm just going to say that Nic has a great point that it's all content, and everybody is looking for that. You know how we have that 24 hours news cycle now, where before we didn't have, and so news was news and it was hard hitting, but then we became this 24-hour news cycle, so they always have to come up with new content, new hard hitting, new exciting, salacious type of information and so forth. And so that's the last thing I wanted to add on that.
1000%. That's why I said there's not much that we can do about it beyond just as individual consumers, right? Because we can choose to go to the reputable sources, but people get their news from the shade room. People get their news from the internet, right? Or from podcasts. So you can't really stop that, I think, in any credible way, especially because people are ignorant to even journalistic standards, for example, right? So yes, maybe the ABC won't tell you who the person's name was, but Sasha's and them blog will, right? Because they want clicks and views. That's how you monetize it. So I just kind of feel like the landscape of media and where people get their information from has long since, changed. And so now I get it. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But I'll tell you what's also unfortunate, or maybe not, right? Maybe it's a twist of fortune for my guy Van Hunt, right? Because he was on the hunt for Halle's heart. Well, he already has it, but I guess he wanted to put a ring on it. Because if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it, right? Apparently they were listening to Beyonce. But Van Hunt said recently, right, that, hey, Halle Berry, who was married three times, right? I think he was married once. He wants to put another ring on it. He wants to walk down that aisle because she makes him smile. But she was like, nah, I don't know. It's up in the air, right? But Halle's well over 50, or not well over 50. She still looks good. She looks amazing, but she's a little over 50. Are the rules different? Do we feel differently about this? Because many of us are married. We're a marriage-centered pod, or we believe it. We're pro-marriage, right? But here's Halle kind of saying, hey, man, I don't know. I'm kind of good on that. We don't even really need marriage right now. Now, juxtapose that with people who've already been married, let's say for 20 years, and then decide to get divorced after 50, right? Is the playing field differently after 50? I mean, I know they fucking, but when it comes to marriage though, right? Because we all know people still fucking, the numbers are out there. But when it comes to like post 50, right? How do we feel about maybe somebody like Halle who's been married and she don't know she needs to get married again to, justify their love? And then you got people who've been married. And it's like, you know what, man, this shit hasn't been working out for me and I'm ready to move on. Right? Is there a difference between how men and women are viewed in these cases? What say you? Gender war. Let's talk about it.
First off, Halle is, I believe, like 58. So she is almost well over 50. I think you can almost say that because she's practically 60. And she's been through some things, you know what I mean? And age should teach wisdom. And if age doesn't, then experience should. And she's had both, right? And so I'm looking at her pause on this as a couple of things. So I'm gonna first give you like my more reasoned take. The reasoned take is the lady's taking her time. Okay, she don't know how much time she got left in life, right? And she needs to be, you know what I'm saying? So she could check out at any time. She wants to be sure that all her time is spent with the right person. If they already kicking it, Why they got to get married to say they're going to keep on kicking it? All they got to do is keep kicking it. They're so old, and the things in life that people get married for, to start a family, to build this and build that, they're already beyond those stages in their lives. So I'm like, girl, take your time, walk it down. You know what I mean? She shows that their bond is strong, and it doesn't need to be validated by other people. You know what I mean? Whatever they got, what they got, right? And he's like, hey, you need me to marry you so people know I'm really feeling that way? She's like, nah, baby, I don't need that. And I'm like, that's cool, right? That's my reason to probe. Now, let me tell you what the hustler side of me say. It say that Halle Berry is making a very shrewd move when it comes to the price of the pussy. Okay? Because what we're seeing socially is a commodization of the cooch, right? From the Vanessa, story, from who's having baby daddies with who, everybody, even from WAP, man, there's been a price that's being put on the punani and what people should do for it and what it should go for. And what she is saying, because somebody labeled her with trash coop a while ago. I'm using all the names so y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay? Somebody labeled her a while ago. They said she had it bad. Now, if she turns this guy down and he sticks around, then poof, the price of her should go sky high. Because who would stick around, propose, be turned down, and come again for some bad pussy? Nobody, I tell you. Nobody.
I'm literally stuttering. I have no words for what you just said and how you concluded that. I have no words. I have some words, but they're words that I can't say on the air. And especially not
within
within
post-production.
Yeah. And so one of my questions is, what the fuck? And follow immediately by why.
What do you mean?
How did you get to that conclusion that she's withholding marriage because it would increase the value of her box? Because for a long time ago, people were saying her box was trash. And so therefore this versus, hey, maybe she tired of paying fucking alimony. Maybe she tired of these men taking her to the cleaners. And now she realized that this piece that she has, i.e. peace of mind, not piece of her box, but her peace of mind is more valuable than what these checks she has to write. She's writing checks right now to her ex-husband, or at least 2 to 3 ex-husbands she's still writing checks for, and child support for one of them. And so maybe she decided, you know what? I don't learn the lesson. The first time, okay, I got it. Second time, okay. Third time, man, I got took to the cleaners, and I'm just not trying to get a fourth time, because even though we can have a prenup, even though we can have all of this, all these things will end up being renegotiable, and I'm just tired. It ain't got nothing to do with her goddamn box. But I'm going to say on the more positive side of the house of why she probably don't want to get married now that we've got the foolery and the fuckery out pertaining to her box. At least I hope that's what we got out. But for some reason, I don't feel like that's going to happen on this episode, because Delvin was talking about her box in the last segment. But anyways, with that being said, let me calm down just a little bit. Okay, it's not about the box. It's not about the... Okay, anyways. So, with that being said, I want to give some other reasons why she may not have wanted to get married. And one, she's already done the wife thing. She's tired of being a wife. She did it 3 times. And you know what? And it didn't work out for her. And what she get from a mediocre anniversary dinner and a man who still don't know what her favorite wine was? Probably not, because they probably didn't take the time to know that much. She knows peace is priceless, like I already said. Now her box is priceless. Her peace of mind is priceless. Also, what the hell is her benefit for her to get married at this age? I'm going to be honest, because great divorces are increasing, and that by the time they're 65, they end up divorced yet again, even if they got married at 50. And because marriage, even though most people say marriage benefit women more, that's a lie. Because men actually live longer when they're married. So make it make sense. So if she's already content and peaceful, why the hell she need to get married? I'm just saying. And I support marriages, and I actually support what I call elderly marriages too. And so I think you can find geriatric love where you can and be happy. And if that geriatric love or love in general is just companionship, I'm for that too. I don't think necessarily because she's already financially stable and she wants to stay that way. I actually believe that's her most fundamental contributing factor, is that she wants to make sure she keeps her money, and not deal with the foolery and the fuckery that came with the last relationship. And I'm not saying this guy's a bad guy or anything. I don't know him from Adam to Eve, and I didn't check out his net worth or anything. And so I think that she just valued his companionship more and feel that at this point in her life, she does not need to put a ring on it. She's secure in herself. She know who she is. She's going through menopause apparently and got a whole series about it. And she was like, hey, I'm good. Let me just enjoy this moment and let me just be. And I support that for her.
I'm forced to agree with S&M on this. Just a bit. You know, that why you guys put in these situations. Yeah, I mean, she's pushing 60. I don't think it's the necessity that it was, maybe 30, years ago or whenever she was, a lot younger. I do support, gray marriages. I mean, it's great at any age, but I do believe this is more of an economic thing than anything else. Look, I don't want to spend my money again. I'm doing that right now. And she's been married a couple of times. So maybe she has a level of self-awareness. Like, you know what? I clearly suck at this. So you'll just be in my obituary as my special friend. And that's okay. We know who it is. And we'll just have to move on. That's just going to have to be what it is. You know, he should be listening. I'm with Halle Berry. Everybody knows it. It's not like she's not claiming him publicly. He's going to have to be okay with that at 60. But hopefully she'll change her mind. I do support marriage at any age, and it'll be a good thing if she does it. But I understand from a financial standpoint why she wouldn't do it.
You know what I love about y'all is that I just be nailing it on the head sometimes, just not often, but just when y'all do, you have to do a really good job of nailing it on the head, right? But I want to so I have to be creative in terms of where can I get in there, right? Now, I just hope that sometimes as men we'll pause. I tried to make a menopause reference there. It was a tough corner to turn, but okay, I still say if I can, I'm going to try, right? But I do have a question. It's rhetorical. If your box was trash before menopause, ... And I want to focus real quick on the positive, right? Because y'all all talked, y'all didn't mention my man Van, right? There was a story that we wanted to talk about. We didn't quite get to it, right? It was about whether or not men want relationships. And so my man Van, where y'all want to focus on the negative, was like, y'all want to marry this girl. Even though I'm 60, even though I done been in a relationship before or whatever, there are men out here who are romantic still, right? Who will leave an institution, who want to, in the eyes of the Lord and their family and God or whoever, right, to do that. So kudos to him for still wanting that. You dig what I'm saying? And kudos to him for still wanting that with her, despite her shortcomings that has been well documented as far as her trash box and now with the menopause thing. So I think while y'all want to focus on the negatives, he proves that, yes, men want relationships and we can love a woman despite her having trash box. So that's number one. Number two, I also want to give her kudos because, right, she's doing him a favor. I think Delvin mentioned it earlier. Like, she's not wife material. Just because you get married doesn't mean that you're a wife, right? So yeah, she's been married 3 times, and kudos to her to having the self-awareness to say, you know what, I'm not good at this. I don't want to be responsible for somebody else. I don't have the emotional bandwidth to be able to maintain a long-term relationship when I have a certain level of commitment and a certain level of consideration that I have to have another human being beyond my own self-awareness. Kudos to her for being able to recognize that within herself. And then that tells me she really loves him. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you can love a person enough to be like, you know what? Nah, I know you want this thing. I know you think you want this, but nah, let's just continue to do this thing right here because it's the best that I got. So I think she is doing him a favor, right? And I agree with y'all, ladies. Surprisingly, it's not about the box because we know it's trash, right? I do think there's a lot of things that women can learn from this because some of y'all are beyond y'all relationship zone. And so continue to try to force it is just causing relationships are inevitably going to fail. Right. So maybe some of you have to carve out whatever existence you can within the construct of a relationship to feel like you can live to your dying days and still have somebody by your side. So I think there's women who can learn from Halle's hesitance here. But something tells me, though, because she hasn't cut it off completely, that there's a part of her that probably still wants it. Because, shorty, why are you still keeping him in the wind? From what I understand, it's still floating out there according to his own words. So it's not like she shot him down like, nah, we're not going to do this. She's still considering it. Right. Right. So that's where the disconnect happens because she might fall for it. Because I think inevitably she's a romantic person. Right. Maybe. You get what I'm saying? And maybe you guys are right. Maybe it's the money thing. But I mean, she'll get more roles. Right. I mean, how much money does Halle really have right now? Do we even know what he does? We automatically assume he's Stedman. But the point that I'm trying to make is, and this is the only thing I'll say to Halle if you're watching, if you want to marry this man, marry this man. I get that you don't trust yourself, and you probably have good reason to not trust yourself. But there's a sneaking feeling that I do think she wants to marry him. And I do think women who had a track record of having bad relationships don't trust themselves. This guy has been there with you through thick and thin. Maybe, yes, she has hurt. She hasn't had accountability. Maybe she's always pointing the finger. But if she can get the proper healing, and if she really wants to be with that man, girl, go ahead and do that. But just don't do it not because you don't want to, but because, oh my God, I'm scared I'm going to fuck this up again. You probably will, but you know what? That's life. Take that leap, girl, if you really want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So as toxic as I can be, I'm still a romantic on the inside because I can see them really wanting to that for each other. And he got to be a great man to want that with her. And she got to be willing to let him do that. But she got to accept it within herself first. So Halle, if you're watching, girl, that's a freebie. You know what I'm saying? Don't say all love Black women. Don't miss me with that. You know what I'm saying? That was my gift to all y'all single hoes out there. I mean, all y'all single.
Tia, please come
We
with
just
it.
supported
Please.
Black love and we didn't get any credit.
Please.
Somehow Halle became the bad guy in the equation of her not wanting to be married. I'm going to take something that you said and flip it just a little bit. Just because he might be a decent boyfriend does not make a husband of him. It is possible that she is very aware of this. And trash or not, her box was trash when he got with her. Her box was trash after the first time he did it. Her box was trash the first, second, and third year he decided to stay with it. So clearly for neither of them, that's not a primary factor while he's still trying to marry the trash box. He's trying to marry the trash box. The trash box is what said no. And I think that we're missing the fact that she still has the power. She's had one man who had a severe sex addiction and cheated all over the world and around the globe on her. She has two other husbands that were simp enough to go and take alimony and child support from her. If I was her, I would take my losses. First of all, she damn near ain't got enough money to keep paying these motherfuckers, right? Like you 0 for 3 right now, Halle. It's best for you to sit on your hands and your bank book and have your little boyfriend, significantly younger if you're lucky, and live out the rest of your days single and keeping your money to yourself and to your pockets. Give your kids something when you go on up yonder. Because all these people are going to do is monopolize and monetize and make money off of you to the extent to where they're going to come after you. And she knows that by experience. She's not messing with y'all knickknacks. She's messing with herself, and I respect that. She's standing on her own 2 feet and saying, if you want to be here, these are the criteria in which you're welcome. Other than that, scurry along. And I'm with that.
No, okay, first of all, let me correct the record here. From Halle's own admission, she had her box got worse moment. She talked about a time when she was with Van Hunt and it was somewhere she thought they had some. She had to call the doctor, and this nigga stuck with her through that shit. Okay, so yes, maybe early on it was like, it's just trash box. But for him to be there for 5 years, he's probably went through Perry and whatever's after Perry and Barry and Mary menopause at this point, right? So it's like, come on, man, that brother stuck with her. So no, I'm sorry, it got worse, and he still wants to marry her, right? And I get that she probably loves him so much. So I don't get how you thought what I was saying was negative. I'm saying I acknowledge the fact that she loves him so much that she thinks he deserves better than her trash box and the rest of her relationship deficiencies, right? So I'm saying, like, that's okay for a person to recognize he's loving her. So the fact that I gave him some love for showing up as a man the way that some of y'all women claim y'all want men to show up, all of a sudden that's me diminishing her from acknowledging the very truth that she is saying herself by not wanting to marry him. Come on, man. I don't see how we turn these things into these things.
So I'm just going to say this. First of all,
we're so far gone.
I noticed that you have this art of changing something that's exceptionally, because we don't know that's exactly what she meant. And as a matter of fact, perhaps she's telling him, hey, I don't want to get married, and I'm going to free you back into the wild so that you can find the person who wants to be married, because that person is not me. And that's some things that we tell that we want men to do too. Like if you know you're not going to marry this person and that's their expectation and that's what they want, then perhaps you should let them go back into the wild so that they can find their person and be equally yoked in that sense. And so for for you to say that she loved him enough not to trap him with a trash box. And
sacrifice.
And I'm just like, what? But okay, I won't get distracted by the box. So with that being said, I'm just going to say this. I think that he should find the person for him. If he wants marriage, he should find somebody who wants marriage. I don't think he should try to change her mind, because if she's saying that's not what she wants, and if she is holding it to him, like, holding it to win, like maybe or could have, is no different than the men who do it to women who say, oh, we're going to have a long engagement, and then they never get married. Or they say, oh, one day I want to get married, but they know that it's not to that person. And then it's when you need to let that person go, because at this point, you're literally keeping this person as a placeholder because it's convenient to you. And so I think she is doing him a favor, not for the reason that you think is for, but because she realized that he's becoming a placeholder for whatever the situation may be, and he needs to go find his person.
I get that Halle's beautiful, right? And she's a superstar. All that is great. But if you have trash box and you want somebody to like, or even a bad attitude or a bad personality, sometimes you got to pay to overcome that. We say that to men all the time, right? If you have enough resources and you want to be with a certain type of chick, it could be because she's attractive or younger or whatever, we expect them to show up financially a certain type of way. Why would that be any different? Just because she's Halle, right? I get that y'all believe that, but I think any guy, right? Maybe that's why we believe his motives is financial, but yeah, bitch, you got to pay. Like, you can't be like, Halle, cool. Okay, what other benefits am I getting? Especially if the box is trash. Like, that's a central part. Like, niggas will put up with a bad attitude before they put up with bad box. In fact, there is an urban legend that crazy box equals great box. Like, a chick who's crazy, like, oh my gosh, she's crazy, she has great box. So you got a bad attitude and bad box? Then you better have some money. You gotta pay like Oprah way. What the fuck are we talking about? Just because she's Halle doesn't mean she gotta come up them coins. Why do you think the niggas before her who's getting alimony, I guess you want to complain about it, but nah, sis, yeah. You want a little cute little white boy you thought was all that in the bag of chips. Well, guess what? He stuck you up for your paper. You had to pay like Oprah way. What the fuck are we talking about? Let's go. The game is the game. You got. Even being Halle Berry, it's a shame that you are Halle Berry and you're getting got like this. So yeah, she should be happy that Van Hunt is in a hunt for her affection. I'm sorry, that Halle card has a lot of dust on it. You know what I'm saying?
Lord have mercy. So moving on.
On top of it, that bitch is like a blockbuster. Ain't nobody going there no more.
All righty then, moving on. While you are being so entertained on this, speaking of luxury and paying to pay or paying to play, let's talk about Earn Your Leisure. So recently on Earn Your Leisure, there was a conversation about Black luxury has outpaced Black income. And so basically what they're saying that back in the day, we had a certain level of what we thought was luxury. So in the 90s and whatnot, was it Infiniti 245 was considered a great car that Nas, as an example, aspired to get. And now, though, it's a Maybach or somewhere along those lines. But at the same time, our economics, our income has not equated to actually be Black luxury. And so my question to you all, one, is this an issue in our community? Do we acknowledge that this is an issue in our community? And if so, why do you believe it's an issue in our community? And why do we chase this luxury instead of assets?
It's like it's cool with the uniforms. Everybody has a uniform on, right? Everybody's dressed the same. Now, some little girl's got to have a bow in her hair. It's a different color. Or if it's blue bows, now she got to have the blue and white bows. Or her shoe got to have a little something. Everybody wants a little sparkle. They want a little something different. Particularly when everybody looks around and notices that most of us, or most of the people in their same area, have about the same amount of stuff, right? So we start chasing this thing. Now, it used to be, though, that I think luxury was a show of your accomplishment. I mean, I got my money such that I've handled my business and now I can afford to have this kind of shirt, this kind of car, live in this kind of place, right? Because I've handled my business. And the reason you'd want this kind of shirt, this kind of house, this kind of place, because the idea was that you were now getting better quality that would last longer, right? You were moved up another level or whatever. But now we're at the point where we'll buy knockoffs just so we can look like we got it and we know we broke. which is kind of weird, right? Because we still didn't handle our business and we looking like we got money that we don't have. So I think it's funny. In economics, when I went to school for economics, one of the things they said was it doesn't matter how much money somebody makes until they have the adequate spending habits, right? Like recycling the dollar in the community or whatever. Until they have the right spending habits, nothing changes, right? You can get more money, they'll still go broke. So we used to chase assets. We were on that at one point in time. Now we chasing like just what things look like, people's height, the aesthetics. You know what I mean? We flexing Maybachs and Hermes and stuff, and our bank accounts is being on zero.
I think Black people, we've been chasing status for a long time, right? Because for a long time we weren't allowed. And I think for the people who had, it became a measurement of success of the things that we had accomplished, right? I think it's grown over access, over resources, over time, right? That Black people have started buying things that were outside of their means, right? Literally, some of these systems are created to put us in that box, like Lil Wayne, right? Yes, it helps a lot of people, but it also gives people to buy things that they can't afford. The extension of credit, it puts people in a momentary bliss because they can buy something, but if they can't afford it, and they can't afford to pay for it, then it puts them in financial debt, right? And so there's these measures that I think that we want to look and appear to be better off than we are because we want to keep up with the Joneses. And I think, yes, we've definitely status and all of that has definitely lapped some economics for Black people. And so I think it's normal to think that we overspend, we under budget, and a lot of us are wearing knockoffs anyway. Like we may think that that's a $500 purse, but that's really $40 from somebody at the flea market, and the world will never know. I respect people who get it that way as opposed to go out and spend $17,000 on a Birkin bag, but you stand and I've seen Maybachs and Bentleys in Section 8 housing, no lie. Like there's just there's something wrong with thinking that you can have one and then be at such a deficit at the rest of your life. Clothes, shoes, cars should not be the things that identify what success looks like for you, right? So I think that Black people have been just kind of caught up in a cycle of misspending for years, but I think it was also purposeful.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, the joke was, when I was, getting right out of college, it was, if your car note was more than your rent, you're messing up. You're doing something wrong. I think a lot of it, especially, social media has exacerbated it. Somebody's lying. And I looked it up. I like to have my numbers in front of me. According to the Census Bureau, the median Black man makes $50,000 a year. That's his median income. For Black women, it's $44,000. But if you look on the gram, a lot of times you see people, Turks and Caicos doing all kind of trips, Sunday fun day every weekend. Got the red bottoms. They probably painted on, but whatever. So somebody's lying. It's either debt, maybe scamming. You're getting the money some other kind of way. So it's all for liability. It's no asset. So I don't think it's even that we don't have the money. It's just we spend it on dumb shit. So it's flossing really for people who probably don't like you anyway, and they're broke too. Why you just going into debt to impress broke people? That's crazy. We need to do better.
So hold on, you said, Delvin, that it's not that we don't have it, because I'm gonna tell you, my brother, we ain't got it.
The ones who, some
we
have
ain't got it, fam.
Well, it's more of a. That what I'm trying to say is like managing what you do have is really important. So
yes,
yeah,
I do agree with that, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like the crux of what we're talking about is the gap widening in regards to aspiration, right? Because back in the 90s, when we're looking at the Q45, I think reasonably that was still aspirational for a lot of people.
Maybe Alexa.
Right. And now we're talking about Hermes and Maybach, things that are not generally going to be affordable for most people, but it's thrown in our faces. Why is that? I think a lot of it, unfortunately, is technology, the access to social media, for example. Right. Growing up around our age, there were certain things that if we didn't go to the mall, right? Like, how were we hearing about it? Maybe in songs, right? There was a period where hip hop became very name brand or gear oriented to a certain extent. We went through different phases, right? And I think as hip hop grew, as people who made money through hip hop continue to make more money, we have a billionaire like Jay-Z. So the aspiration, I think, low key did grow. with the heroes that we saw, like in the culture, for example, right? So when Nas was talking about the Q45, he was talking about it from a street nigga perspective, right? But now we see Jay-Z in private planes and being able to talk about having basque yachts and shit like that. So what became, I think, seemingly attainable for us also grew as the culture grew, as the enterprise of hip hop grew, and as certain people achieved more wealth. I think the danger, though, unfortunately, is that people use that as a standard, as opposed to what it's always been intended for, which is an aspiration, something that you can shoot for, that if you put the work in, maybe if you shoot for the stars, you won't land there, but you'll get somewhere close enough to where you have a great life regardless, right? I think that's how it's intended. But the problem is, I think that a lot of people have set this as a baseline for their expectations, especially when you talk about just life in general. Like, there's conversations about whether or not a 9 to 5 is good enough for certain women or certain dating spaces, right? Or if he drives a Honda or drives a certain car. Like, these people's standards now are really putting, y'all want to talk about the height thing, I get it, but I do feel like it's a little different. But when you talk about like things like the kind of car a person drives, especially if it's paid for, depending, like, to me, that's when you should really start to see how lack of financially literate we are sometimes, because the woman or the guy who's driving a Honda may be doing so because they're saving and stacking their bread, investing accordingly. Those are the traits that we certainly should be looking for. But because we want to, the Jones have outpaced the rest of us and we're still trying to keep up with them. Right? The whole keeping up with the Jones has always been a thing. But like, literally, when you talk about having billionaires, that wasn't always the case. For us, it was millionaires. Maybe the brother had 5 million, like, oh my God, that's amazing. Now brothers got billions or aspiring towards billions. So I think that's the core of it, that the people within the culture who have aspired towards great have reached higher heights. And then with the distribution of social media, making it seem as if everybody is reaching these higher heights as opposed to maybe renting it, you know what I'm saying, temporarily, you know what I mean? And so now that's added more pressure for us to then want to continue to be like a Jones. It becomes this repetitive algorithmic cycle that unfortunately you have to be woke, right? I hate to use that word, right? But you have to be aware of what's happening and fight against it, because I think in some way, shape, or form, many of us find ourselves being influenced by this idea that we're validated by our material possessions and the types of things that we can show on social media. And I think that's where the danger lies, not so much just in the aspiration, but rather how it shows up for real, and whether or not we're able to discern the reality from the charade or the facade that's out there through social media. So.
Yep. So I concur with this 100%. I just want to add a little bit more stats to the conversation as well. And so Black households in general have made substantial gains, though, in net worth. Now, please take this with a grain of salt, because when I tell you what the gains were between 2019 and 2022, the disparity still exists compared to white households, as an example, but the increase was from 12.7% to only 15.5% of the median white household wealth. This equated to only $44,000, basically. And however, it was considered like the largest wealth gain for any racial group. Now, mind you, we literally went from it was only a 3% increase, about give or take, right, to 44,000 as our median net worth. So I'm going to agree with Delvin that there are some folks out here lying on the gram, lying on the socials, because if the median is $44,000, there's no way in hell you can afford it Maybach. And what has happened is that we've created a cycle of debt. And this cycle of debt has left us in this, so Tia, she mentioned how we got this credit, because in some countries, they don't even have credit. You can't, if you don't have the money to buy it, i.e. the cash, the gold, whatever the case may be, to buy it, then you can't get it because they don't operate on credit systems. But we do here. We operate on credit. And that's another way to keep us in this perpetual cycle of debt, which therefore technically keep us as worker bees in the economy, because we have no choice because we're in this debt cycle. I actually contribute this to what I call the peacock theory. I'm not quite sure if you guys have heard of the peacock theory. I personally love it because I think it describes the Black folks in general, particularly, Black folks in general, although traditionally is associated with men, because men have the tendency to want to be the peacock and flash and do all this stuff to show that they and derive value. I know I saw the look, but technically, if you look up peacock theory, it does say that it's tend to be associated with men, because the men peacocks as in the peacock, the actual bird, the men are the more flashy of the bird. And while they do their mating dance and so forth to attract the woman's attention, the female peacocks are actually pretty plain Jane looking and kind of boring. And so that's why they associate it with men, while you was throwing me that look over there, Jay. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of where it came from. But anyways, so basically the peacock theory says like in displays of essence, be it appearance, behavior, or possessions, they're using it to signify like, oh, this strength or this status or this fitness, that I am this person, I can afford this, I am the man or the woman in some cases. And meanwhile, they're really just surviving. But they need it because, and so traditionally men will flex like the wealth, the cars, the clothes, and basically be shaking their tail feathers without actually shaking tail feathers. Whereas the women will flex the trips, the vacations, and so forth, because they're trying to say, hey, I'm free, look at me. And all this I'm free, look at me, or all this flexing is really just keeping us in a cycle of debt. And so I agree that what's considered luxury has definitely outpaced our actual income based on the statistics that we see. But not only just based on the statistics, but literally based on the fact that we stopped spending at Target and we was able to shut it down for the most part. So that tells you how much money was leaving our community. And if we think about the fact that in our community alone, the dollar was only hitting us, the dollar would hit our pocket once and then go out. Whereas other communities, it will cycle up to 7 times depending on the community. So I agree once again that we have hit a time in our life where we're too busy chasing this. And I must say that part of it comes from our history and is rooted in the fact that we felt like we do have to dress a certain way. We do have to be to meet a certain standards so that we could be taken seriously, or so that we can be considered a good Negro, as they would say back in the day. And then it ended up evolving to where the hip hop culture ended up taking over and telling us what we need to prioritize in our life or what we need to aspire to. And that's why music is so profound in our community. And that's why even the frequencies have changed, because they know that the frequency teaches us something too, i.e. generate certain emotions and thoughts and so forth. And so I will co-sign 100% on everything that was said. And I just hope that we actually take this conversation and other people take this conversation and realize that this is a problem in our community and it should be addressed. Now, will it be addressed? Like, we're taking the time to address it here and talk about the why, or not necessarily the complete why, but how it came to be a little bit. But we can't really delve into it without going into our actual history. And if you just consider modern times, then we know that hip hop has greatly influenced what we're looking at, what we see in the world today.
I just want to add in, I tell you, technical difficulties. I think our perspective needs to shift. I think that we're not really looking like at the signs, the clouds in terms of the economic forecast. I think what we invest our money in needs to be more real things like real estate, real property, cars, but actual cars that you can drive without them hitting a pothole. Then you need new rims or whatever, like actual functioning vehicles and property. What we're looking at right now is it's like a perfect storm of really bad habits. It's a lot less money in the economy due to, the inflation and all those other the tariffs or whatever. Then you have the people are getting laid off, so there's less money that people are getting. Then you have these expensive goods that still want to stay expensive. They still want to turn a profit, so the prices aren't coming down that much. You have people trying to show that they're not hurting financially when they are hurting financially. And now they're like, committing crimes or doing other stuff or buying fake stuff just to prove it. And so it's a spiral. And it's a spiral that's rooted in our need for somebody else to look at us. And if we can sell them our fake story, then maybe we'll believe it's true too. And it's got to stop, because that's really what it amounts to, right? It amounts to us as almost as a culture somehow not keeping it real anymore, and not wanting to live our truth, and not just stand on the fact that, this is where I am right now, but watch my hustle. You can see where I am now, because when you see my hustle, it'll be where it is. And I know that's a culture shock. I remember I'll say this in land. I remember years ago, there was a basketball player. I don't remember his name. It's sad too. Maybe it was Dominique Wilkins. It might have been, but I don't know. But he came out with a shoe. And the shoe was affordable. It was a decent, all right. It wasn't an ugly shoe, whoever it was. And he came out with the shoe. The shoe was affordable, and nobody in the hood wanted it. And the reason nobody in the hood wanted it was because it was so affordable, and anybody in the hood could get it, and it wasn't a good status symbol. It had nothing to do with
Payless.
So, who was that?
But I get They weren't that fly. Okay. I mean, have you ever actually bought Payless shoes for real? For real? I get the idea that maybe they're affordable, but them things last like 2 minutes.
True.
I didn't walk out the store good when I was a kid. I remember one time my mama bought me some XJ900s. They looked like they were Hirachis. I wore them. I was like, I'm gonna be smart. I'm gonna only wear them in the gym. They didn't make it in like one class playing basketball, fam. Okay, that's number one. Number two, listen, I get it because we're all financially literate here, but that is part of the shit that people got to deal with when it comes to just existing in our community. If you're a guy, for example, there's certain spaces and places that you can't even really go to and like present. She can't see past what the fuck you're wearing to get to know you for real, right? Especially, like women may judge guys in terms of how they look, but also how they dress, etc. So guys sometimes in the dating market, for example, have to show up a certain type of way. Why? Because people are looking for those things. So I get it, right? I would encourage guys to stay true to their finances, but I do think that guys who are making a couple of dollars, there's a way that you can play the game and be fiscally responsible still while putting yourself in the best position possible. I'm not saying you got to fake it till you make it, but I do think you got to present until you can kind of like move forward in your career. Like, for example, like you don't show up to the job and not wear suits if that's what your job calls for. Why do you wear suits? Because you want to present a certain type of way and move forward, right? So there are certain standards, right, that we adhere to. I do think the question becomes, if we're talking about just a level of luxury, because I think to me, that's where the teeth of it is. Because once we start getting into like, hey, people should present a certain type of way, it just depends. Right? People got to go out there and fake it till they make it to a certain extent. Why? Because we're very like image conscious people. We draw conclusions about people based on how they fucking show up. Right? Even if it's, even if we acknowledge it or we don't acknowledge it. So there's a certain level of this, but I think when it gets to like the outpacing of where luxury stands, I think it's great, again, when it's aspirational, but I just think it becomes a problem because what happens is because the luxury is so outpaced, that the median of that is also outpaced for real, right? If you know what I'm saying? Like, because people's vision of the end goal is way over here and you just start at zero, and then the median is going to kind of just naturally move a little bit further away from reality. And there's just way too many people who I think are allowing that mirage of that extreme luxury affect how they feel about themselves, right? Affect how they see themselves, affect how they deal with other people. And I think that's where it really becomes a danger. But I do think it is important for people to have aspirations. It is possible for you to become a billionaire in 2025. Now, how possible it is, not very likely, but we are seeing people that look like us do it. And so I think it's great to see those, but it doesn't mean that we have to slavishly go out there and pretend as much as possible and put ourselves at a detriment. But that's all I got, man. Any final thoughts? Right? We talked a little money talk. We were responsible on the way out. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget to tip the ushers and everything.
I felt like I saw a theme of like the price of coochie. I really did. Like, I think if we look at it, we're seeing like what it's worth and how it functions inside our society, and then people trying to re-estimate their value, and then like, see who will still buy at certain ages and certain levels of expiration. There was a lot of shade. Anyway, but I had a good time, man. It was fun. It was real. And yeah, that's about it. Just make sure you're valuing yourself properly. That's all I got to say. Love y'all, man.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, Jay, what does that have to do with the price of coochie in China? But
no, they didn't like it. Yeah, I did. They didn't like it. Yeah, it was just
it was damn, man. Was any final thoughts?
Yeah, man. Again, this is choices. Making the best one that you can. Having a level of self-awareness. Hopefully, between Offset and Halle Berry and even Cassie, you can make some pretty decent choices of who you end up with and how they can affect your life. But that requires a level of self-awareness. And to the last story, being good with your purchases and your money and where you put it, so you don't have to screw it off on freak offs or alimony or fighting your baby mama's new man. So just try to be responsible and within your love life and your finances, and we'll all try to do better.
TMB, what it be?
I enjoyed every part of this. I just think I take away, that love, kindness, and real shit is going to get us much further than hating, pettiness, and being mad that you fumbled the ball, right? So if I have to take anything away, it's like, all we got to do is just be good humans, and then everything else should fall into place.
Yes. Speaking of good humans, oh no, I think it's only S&M left. S&M.
Oh, wow. Wow, the shade. See, I was about to give a compliment, but no, actually I wasn't. But but you would never know if it's the truth or not. So first I want to say that this is the first episode in a while that I actually was stumped. And I will admit that I have never stuttered on a show before in the manner that I have today because we kept talking about some goddamn box. And so, with that being said, my takeaway was that at the end of the day, I think we're maybe the men on the panel were more primal than what I thought they were. And there was some regression on the panel. But hey, you know, that's just my takeaway in general right now. I was a little surprised. But with that being said, there were some valuable lessons and there were some gems dropped, regardless if it was about a box or not. So I appreciate some of the gems that were dropped. And I also appreciate the nuggets that were shared. So I will personally be out for the next episode. So I hope you guys hold it down, and I wish that would have been the episode y'all kept talking about some goddamn box, but it's all good. I understand, sometimes you got to get it in where you get it in. So,
that's what Diddy said.
She'll hold it down. She'll hold it down. So she was like, I got this.
I already got them on the ropes this week. They coming out swinging next week. Don't worry.
Okay,
I don't even know what ropes you talking about.
Graduation ropes.
Honors.
Honors.
Go ahead. I said
Jay and Delvin know
so anyways,
because they was pressed on them.
Ooh.
She did.
I'm not in abundance like that.
Right, see, I want to make sure I watch it. So if you're not watching it, make sure y'all watch it. Because matter of fact, watch this episode too, and all our episodes. Go back because there's some good shit on this stuff on the show. So I'm gonna tune in next week. Y'all should tune in next week. And with that, I'll pass it to Nick to let us out.
Listen, man, I just want to say a couple of quick things. I realized that I'm gonna reframe the gender war. Right, what's happening is that there's a mass renegotiation. We got to stop pointing the fingers and calling each other names. We have to acknowledge that there are valid points on both sides. I enjoy making valid points on both sides, but sometimes a little bit more on the lady side. And I'm going to be honest with you, because I do think y'all are the most hostile, right? I want to be a part of negotiating a truce in this gender war, but it's only going to happen when y'all lady folks accept a little bit more accountability. You dig what I'm saying? So I know that sounds crazy. And that's how it's harsh. But I've talked to the fellas brigade and they're like, hey man, well, we'll do something. What do y'all want us to do? Oh, y'all want us to cook a little bit more? Okay, we can. Y'all want us to be better fathers? Okay, we can. But here's a list of things that we want, sir. You think they'll budge on that? They're not on their own. It's not working out well for them, right? So listen, y'all. This gender war is really an opportunity for us to renegotiate terms. And I want to nominate myself as the chief negotiator. Okay. I want to bring both sides together. But ladies, I need your help because I can't do it alone. With that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, and all that good stuff. By doing that, you'll get updates about my evangelism in regards to bringing Black men and women together. But they got to start with a subscribe and follow. Also, don't forget, we got the merch, y'all. That's right. Merch specifically designed to bridge this gender war. So tap into the blcstore.com, right? But on behalf of my esteemed fellow hosts, Just Jay, Delvin the Expert, TME, and S&M, I'm Nic Nice. We'll see you next week. Sans S&M, girl, we gonna miss you.
Oh,
miss y'all.
hearts.
Next week, y'all be easy.
Have a